Adjective phrase. Now let's look at adjective phrase and how it behaves in a sentence. So if we look at this text, we find a lot of words, verbs, noun, phrase, verb phrase, adjunct. For example, if you look at this, the Egyptian was clowning, right? The noise in the room continued. Soon the young German girl. So young German girls, they are two instances of adjective. So we can find more adjective while reading it. So if we try to understand what type of phrases these are, right? So we can say that very soft, German, and young. So these are phrases and we call them adjective phrase, right? So they are called adjective phrase. Obviously in 107, it's soft, which is adjective, but very is a degree modifier, right? And similarly, German girl, so German becomes an adjective phrase. Young girl, young becomes an adjective phrase within a noun phrase, right? The head of an adjective phrase is always an adjective, soft, German, and young. Just as the head of a noun phrase is always a noun and a verb phrase is always a verb, etc. The adjective phrase and in 108 and 109 consist of head adjective only, because except for very soft, German, and young do not have any modifying phrase, right? So there is no specifier. The head adjective may also be followed by a prepositional or a phrase or a sentence which serve as a complement of the head. So it is not that only any word, any modifier can come before the adjective. There can it can come after the adjective. It can be a preposition, phrase, and it can be a sentence, right? So for example, let's look at these aspects, these complement. For example, worried, it's an adjective. He's worried. Worried is an adjective, past participle as adjective. About the future, so about the future is a prepositional phrase. It's modifying the adjective worried. Afraid that he might die, so we have afraid, he's afraid. Afraid is an adjective, so it is more post modified by the sentence, embedded sentence, that is that he that she might die, right? Similarly, fond is an adjective, fond of the sea, so of the sea is a modifying phrase to the adjective which is found. Remember, this is very important to understand the structure of the sentence, that adjective can have pre-modifier as well as post-modifier like a noun, right? And what type of elements can be found, or constituent can be found in the pre-modifying position and the post-modifying position. So decide whether the italicized adjective occur inside a verb or inside an noun phrase in the sentence. So if we look at this, her voice was very soft. So we can say that it is outside a noun phrase, right? Was very soft. Soft is an adjective, right? It is a predicative adjective. The position of this adjective is predicate because it is in the predicate. He leaned towards the German girl. So in this sentence, we can say that German is within a noun phrase. The phrase is the girl, which is a noun phrase. And within the noun phrase is wedged the adjective phrase. We have seen many examples, and we know that the places of adjective in sentences generally are two. Either it is in this position within the noun phrase, we call it attributively used, and or predicatively used when it is independent after the linking verb, right? Or lexical verb be, or etc. Adjective phrase usually describes some sort of quality that is attached to a person or thing. For example, young girl, German girl. So these are the qualities or some additional information about the noun. She is nice attaches niceness to she, right? What is the noun phrase each adjective is related with? So bracketing of the sentence can yield the following constituent structure. For example, we have sentence, her voice was very soft. So her voice is a noun phrase, and then we have the verb phrase was very soft. So was is the lexical verb, and then we have the complement of the lexical verb was very soft, which is an adjective phrase. So for example, noun phrase he leaned towards the German girl. So we know that he is a noun phrase, leaned towards the German girl. It's the whole verb phrase, and then we have prepositional phrase towards and noun phrase of the prepositional phrase the German girl, and we have again German as adjective phrase. So the adjective phrase German function as a pre-modifier in the noun phrase the German girl. Noun phrase may contain more than one adjective functioning as pre-modifier. For example, the young German girl. So here we have two adjectives working as pre-modifier. The little old lady, two modifier. The nice young French student. We have three adjectives which are working as pre-modifier. So we can have more than one adjective as pre-modifier. However, there are certain words which are differently distributed. They have one place. They do not have two places. There are adjectives like only and utter. For example, we can say an only child, or we can say an utter fool. But we cannot say the child is only and the fool is utter. So we can sum up that these two adjectives can be used attributively but not predicatively. They cannot come after the linking verb. They can come within the noun phrase. These adjective phrases can only be used attributively, not predicatively. Other adjectives such as awake and alone. For example, on the contrary, we cannot say an awake child or an alone child. We can say the child is awake, the child is alone. So they can be used predicatively, not attributively. These things have to be taken into mind, kept into mind, that their usage is very limited and should not be confused with each other. Right? The awake child is incorrect. The alone boy is incorrect. Right? So this is the structure of an adjective phrase. Adjective is always the head of the adjective phrase, and it can have specifier, as adverb phrase can be specifier of the adjective phrase. As we can see, extremely handsome, very worried, and rather young, rather handsome, they can be used. And the complement of an adjective is either a prepositional phrase or a sentence. For example, worried about the future, afraid that he might die, fond of the sea. So we can see that both about the future and of the sea are prepositional phrase, and that he might die is a sentence. So they are modifying the adjective, which is the head of the adjective phrase.